Hey, we are back somehow for our 7th installment, which has basically meant that the last 6 haven't been that tragic, that we're still carrying on.
Or we've just got nothing better to do.
Well, yeah,
Friday, Saturday, Sunday night for the last 7 weeks.
Yeah, as people may have realised, we have sort of no fixed schedule. It kind of mixes on when I'm not out partying and kind of, sober enough to kind of make sense. Has a lot to do with it. But in sort of sporting terms, this would be episode 7. This is like the Darren Anderton, legendary Spurs FC number 7. Or Ian, have you got an alternate number 7?
Number 7. It's got to be obviously 11.5 million well spent in 2008 from Fulham for Steve Marley. He was atrocious.
Where did Fulham sign Marley? Can you remember where they signed him from?
Must be a French club somewhere. I'm sure I could probably find out quite quickly. Lyon. There you go. Oh. 54 games, 11 goals.
Can you, obviously this weekend, real football kind of returns and gives us some normality and structure to knowing what time of the day it is on Saturday. I think that's the thing. I was saying this to someone at work the other day. It's when you have the international break, the biggest thing about it on Saturday, it just kind of messes up your routine. Because you have no lunchtime game. You've got no, you're not paying attention to final score on Saturday, and you've got kind of no evening game, and you've got no games on Sunday. So you kind of lose track of what time is. And it's what do I do with my weekend? How do I know where I am?
And then it didn't help the Grand Prix was at a random time on Sunday as well. That didn't even help things. There wasn't even a 2:00 start for usually Sunday, 2:00 start for the Grand Prix, straight into 4:00 for the football. Didn't have that this weekend.
Yeah. But luckily, it's I remembered to update my fantasy team plenty in time. Not just change my team, but made sure I changed my starting lineup. Checked that Ramsdale's still injured, and kind of I've got a couple other players still injured. So just making sure that I've kind of got that into place.
Does Salah make a return as captain though?
I think he currently still is. He's still in my team. I brought more. I wanted to bring Sacco in because I had him with my free hit week, and Kulusevski as well. Because I just think both of them are absolutely balling right now. And then kind of I brought Laporte back in as well because he always, if you're going to get a defender that's going to score goals, he always seems to be one of them. So I just sort of tinkered around a little bit. But my bench looks really solid right now as well. And if I didn't have 2 players injured, it'd be a bench boost week. But
that's fine.
Just making that final push. But anyway, so obviously we've been talking quite a bit about football, and that's kind of a big sort of topical thing today because I'm kind of around about I think it started at 5:30, but didn't actually happen until probably about 20 minutes ago because it seemed to go on forever and ever and ever. With Jermaine Jenas, who's done incredibly well for himself, since he's retired and stopped playing at Spurs. He was always a player that you always felt he looked good, and you always expected more. But he's a really good pundit, and as a presenter, he's great. So obviously, it's fantastic for him that he was hosting the whole of the draw, because obviously, what we're talking about is the draw for the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar, taking place in November and December, took place today. I'm going to go as quickly as possible to try and dance through this and kind of make you all think that if you're not football fans, that there is a real link to country music throughout the whole of this World Cup. So basically, the FIFA World Cup is going to take place this year, has 32 teams. There are 8 groups of 4 teams where each group plays each other once, and then the winner and the second goes through, blah, 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 into a knockout, etc., etc., etc. And at the end of the day, somebody wins the Soccer Lombardi, to kind of put it into American context. So it comprises of countries from all around the world, from all of the kind of, the different continents. So You have like CONMEBOL, which is Southern America. You have CONCACAF, which is North America. You have Africa. You have Asia. You have Europe, and kind of Australasia, which is kind of slightly kind of different how it comes in. But anyway, so they all sort of got drawn today. So the teams got seeded, sort of came out. So the 8 groups, just in case you were really interested. Group A: Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal, Holland, or the Netherlands. Obviously, the Netherlands host C2C, which will be coming back next year. Great country music community. Ilse de Lange, one of the biggest stars in kind of, just music period in Holland, not just country music. Group B we'll come back to because it's going to take a lot of talk later on. Group C: Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Poland. Mexico, everyone in the States loves Mexico. They go down there. Everyone wants to build houses, and people do kind of tours and special fun concerts and stuff. And if we were kind of to nominate a sort of Mexican representative, I guess the closest is probably Leah Turner off the top of my head, because obviously with her sort of parentage and, a lot of things what she's doing. Group D: France, Denmark, Tunisia. France and Denmark, big country music, fan bases and stuff there. And the 4th team in that group will either be Peru, the United Arab Emirates, or Australia, which will be decided by way of a playoff. And mentioning Australia is a wonderful tedious link to kind of bring in the fact that earlier this week that CMC Rocks, which is Australia's version of C2C, essentially announced their lineup for this year, taking place between the 23rd and 25th of September in Queensland, with Morgan Evans, Brad Paisley and Kane Brown headlining, along with Jimmy Allen, Breland, Blanco Brown, Mackenzie Porter, Nico Moon, Tennille Towns, Lindsay L, Abby Anderson, Lacey K. Booth, Brad Cox, Katie Bell, etc., etc., etc. They're all going to kind of be playing that festival as well. And we have a new release from an Australian representative. Over to you, Ian Varley.
Okay, we have Keith Urban with Nightfalls. That is his latest release, just in time for the UK tour, which starts on the 28th of April in Birmingham. And there's also stops in Newcastle, Manchester, London, and Edinburgh.
Splendid. Okay, moving on to Group E of the FIFA World Cup. I mentioned Kaylee Bell was one of the people that was playing at CMC Rocks. She's obviously from New Zealand, who could potentially be the 4th team in that group if they win their playoff game against Costa Rica, where they would join Spain, Japan, and Germany. Now, Germany, obviously, again, hosts a CC festival, Berlin. Ian's a big fan. He's very much looking forward to going back there again next year. And we have new music from a kind of German artist that's come out today. Octavio Stockholm, who's a really good friend of ours. We did a great feature on him during Hispanic Heritage Month earlier this year. He was born in Colombia, spent a lot of time in Germany, now lives in Nashville. And so Stockholm's put out his new song today. It's called Solo. What he does is incredible. It's so different. He's doing country music on Espanol, so it's kind of Spanish country, and that's definitely something worth checking out. Group F, the next group: Belgium, Morocco, Croatia, and for the first time in a long time, which is an absolute delight to our good friend Tebe, Canada will be kind of joining the party at this year's World Cup. So that makes up Group F. Group G is Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland, Cameroon. The Swiss, obviously another European country with really sort of big, country music fan base, and they run festivals and stuff over there as well. And then Group H, which in football in terms to me looks the most interesting, with Ghana, who are the lowest ranked team qualified, where they join Portugal, Uruguay, and obviously South Korea, or Human Son. As a Spurs fan, we always root for them. We love to see them do great. So that makes that. But if you'd kind of noticed, we missed out one group, Group B, which is more than a little bit enticing for us. Obviously, the fact that we're based here in the UK and we're covering country music, which is a predominantly American based genre. So in this group, you have the Islamic Republic of Iran in place number 2. And in the 4th place is yet to be decided, which will be one from Ukraine, Scotland, or Wales. And there's a very nice tangent on Wales for more new music. We've had longer awaited new music from our buddies Hawthorne Avenue come out today. So they've kind of dropped an acoustic version of Shania Twain's You're Still the One. And I caught up with Marcus actually during C2C, bumped into him, and they've been working really hard to get some new stuff going. But more importantly, the final 2 sides in that group are our own wonderful country here of England, where they have been joined by our friends from across the pond, who were the second seeded team to come in. So England, USA, Iran, and one of Wales, Scotland, or Ukraine will make up the enticing thing. And obviously, in all of our calendars, the absolute big day for everyone will be November the 25th. Time to be confirmed on either side of the Atlantic, when England will play the USA. So that's fun. And that's
Right.
football.
Are you ready for me to now try and get my 5 American releases into a sentence based on the England World Cup journey?
Go.
Okay. For England fans, okay, dreaming's free, and we'll give it our best shot so that Southgate can unbreak my heart. But thankfully, God made aeroplanes so we can get to Qatar and see if England fans meet the expected stereotype, who may not be able to be hungover while they're there. So, our releases for this week, we have Caitlin Smith with Dreaming's Free. The album High will be out next Friday. Jimmy Allen has done a Spotify singles. There's an acoustic version of Best Shot and a cover of Unbreak My Heart. We have Jason Aldean has released God Made Aeroplanes. That is from the 2nd installment of his 10th studio album, which will be out on the 22nd. Cole Swindell has released the 6th track from his 13-track album, which is out next Friday. That is called Stereotypes. Same heading as the album. And Sarah Darling has released Jamie's anthem, Hungover, which is the 4th release from her in the past 6 months. And that is going to be on her forthcoming EP. No release date yet. And I got them all into one sentence.
What's really worrying is the fact that I've obviously got all that written down and you managed to merge that into one sentence, so it genuinely looks like we're organized in terms of knowing what we're doing.
That's why I teach primary school, okay? That's jack of all trades here.
So that's what there is in terms of kind of new music. Just sort of a couple of others. Thomas Rhett dropped his record today, where we started, which is the one that's probably taken all the big plaudits on all the playlists come out. It's a really cool listen. If you're a Thomas Rhett fan, you're going to absolutely love it. It's, for me, it's nice. It's solid, 7 out of 10 on your sort of fantasy thing. It's like, if you're, it's good, but if you're not a Thomas Rhett fan, I wouldn't necessarily think you'd go out of your way to kind of think it's the most wonderful thing ever. It's got a collaboration with Katy Perry on it, which is really cool, and lots of other good stuff. But like I say, it's a good record. It's not like, for me, it's not a wow record, but I don't dislike Thomas Rhett, but he's not one of my like up there artists and stuff. But it's a cool record and it's going to do great. And another record that came out today was Staring at Stars, which is a debut EP from the Brethren.
I could have got that into my sentence, surely.
So could have.
How did I not get that in there? I'm annoyed now.
So I spoke to them earlier this week, ahead of them, or 2 of them. So they're 2 sets of brothers from Oregon. So you have Lonnie and Chad Chaplin and Casey and Corey Parnell. who collectively are very decorated kind of musicians and songwriters, touring artists, etc., etc. Lonnie's a Grammy winner. His brother's been Grammy nominated, and they've come together for this like 4-part project, which is really, really good. The record's great. I think the sound's very different. They're kind of like, they sort of talked about, it's kind of rock country, but it's not southern, because they're obviously from the kind of, the Northwest, and obviously they grew up kind of in the same sort of areas as kind of Nirvana and kind of grunge and all that. But it just sort of works really well, the whole sort of harmonies and kind of the tightness of how they play. It's great. And I really think these guys are going to go really, really big, because they know what they're doing. They've done it for a long time. The Chapman brothers have been in around Nashville for 20 odd years, so they know how the mode works. And I just think it's a really cool record for people to listen to. And there's some great stuff on there. And we put a piece out yesterday. It went online. Yeah, so it was really fun. Like I said, I spoke to Casey and Lonnie earlier this week, which was a lot of fun. It's really weird when you sort of read the bio of people. It's like two sets of brothers that were evangelical Christians that have sort of come together, and one of them was a decorated Grammy award winning sort of like gospel and Christian music artist. And you sort of sit down there and you're talking to two guys that are talking about their album launch, where the local brewery have made them their own beer, which they're very passionate about, and how they're kind of looking at, similar to Tebe, looking to build a house in Mexico, which seems to be like the done thing.
When are we building our house in Mexico?
Well, no, exactly, because it's like it's people just sort of slip in. It's like, yeah, we've been spending a lot of time down in Mexico, and we're just looking at getting a place set up down there, and yeah, it's like we're sort of missing out. And it's like where do you guys go on holiday? It's like, well, it was Spain, but now we're not really sure how it works getting there, because we don't know if we need a visa or not. So yeah, so that's kind of sort of the sort of release stuff from there. But like kind of other sort of news this week, we've had a couple more tour announcements, not as if we didn't have enough already. So Carly Pearce is coming back over here in September for her first UK tour. She obviously played C2C back in 2019, but it'll be the first time she'll be playing kind of more dates kind of around London, outside London, in England. And I think there's 4 dates I think at the minute. And also Chris Young, who is headlining the Long Road Festival, he's also announced his own dates as well. And for our friends stateside, Miranda Lambert is hosting a residency in Vegas, and kind of between September and December.
It's going to be 24 dates she's playing.
Yeah. So that's out in Vegas back end of this year, kind of around sort of Easter next year. So she's playing shows, Carly's playing shows, Chris Young's playing shows. But I suppose we kind of, we're talking about music, and we sort of have to address, and conveniently I've finished that beer and have another one ready with the appropriate koozie for who we're about to talk about.
The koozie is perfect timing. Obviously, the sport link in today's episode is also very convenient, got to say.
Well, it's like the thing is, like to us, like I'm really big on football in American context, college and kind of the NFL and stuff. I've reluctantly kind of been dragged into kind of, like ice hockey, and kind of you sort of casually pay attention to kind of baseball and stuff with like the Dallas teams for me. But basketball is one I've kind of really struggled, and I think especially kind of below the pros, it's one for me. But so if you didn't kind of know, Eric was due to play in San Antonio this weekend to a sold out crowd of 19,000 people. He is now not playing that sold out show to 19,000 people because...
And this was decided on about Tuesday, you got to think as well. Tuesday or Wednesday, I think this came out, didn't it? This news. You think you get their 4 days warning for this?
So obviously they're really big on their college sport in the States, and it's the Final Four, which I don't really know what that means, but apparently
It's the semi-final, all in one place.
it's a big deal. And he's obviously from Carolina, and because it's such a big deal, fair play to him for being massively honest about what he's doing. I think you've got to give him a huge amount of credit for it, for kind of saying it's like, hey, I want to do this with my family. I want some time, want to go and do it. So I suppose you've got to give him a little bit of kudos for it. A lot of his fans have defended him. I'm a huge Eric Church fan, but I think it's shitty. It's the only sort of way to describe it. But he's essentially said that I'm going to cancel that show and go and watch UNC, University of North Carolina, against Duke rather than playing this show, which fingers crossed he's going to reschedule for them.
So I was thinking, so he's basically cancelled a show for, say, nearly 20,000 people to go watch a basketball game. Have a think. What is probably the worst thing you've missed, or like an important thing you've missed out on for something quite random? Because I've got one. Are you ready for mine?
Go for it.
I missed one of my best friend's weddings because I had tickets to see Usain Bolt's last ever sprint race.
Oh, that's cool. I
missed that. I had the tickets. I was like, well, no, I've had these tickets for ages, and I've been really looking forward to it. And I was like, I need to go.
I saw Usain Bolt. So at 2012, like when all the sort of stuff, like when you were applying for tickets and things, I was applying for like everything under this. I used to do gymnastics when I was younger, so I really, really wanted to go and kind of see a lot of the kind of gymnastics stuff at the O2 was where it was. So I sort of applied for probably about 800 quid's worth of tickets for that, and then kind of bits and pieces for everything else, and got nothing. So, I probably applied for about 1,500 quid, 2 grams worth of stuff, which, to be honest, I'm quite glad I didn't get all of it because I'd have been a bit screwed. But like mum applied for 4 like lowest price tickets for one day and got it. She applied for one thing, 4 tickets, one day, got it. And it ended up being for the 200-meter qualifying. So we got to see Usain Bolt, which was really, really cool. And we were sort of we were up in the gods, like in a crow's nest or whatever, at Wet Spam Stadium. But yeah, so we were kind of right round by where the start was. So that was cool. Yeah, so I went with Katie Spencer, which I don't think we've sort of talked about this kind of before. It's like we used to work together like a long time ago and kind of had forgotten that we worked together. It was very bizarre, and then it's like we sort of realized that we did.
Halfway through a conversation, I was like, I know that name.
Yeah, and so that kind of, I mentioned Katie, who was someone that we both worked with her and her twin sister Emily, which also finally leads us very nicely into the last thing we need to talk about for tonight, because next weekend Emily and Lewis Rogers, or BCMA award winner Lewis Rogers, may I add, which he's obviously very proud of, they managed to coerce me to head down to Portsmouth or Southsea next weekend, where we're going to be covering Country on the Coast. So our second festival of the year, kind of less than a month. Well, yeah, like less than a month.
Exactly a month, wasn't it?
Yeah, like since sea to sea. So that's kind of at the Gaiety Bar on Southsea Pier, which apparently is a really, really cool venue and stuff, and a lot of people say a lot of good things of. So it's Lily Garland, who people might know is kind of an artist kind of over here. She's putting that on. I know Russell Hill from Express FM, he's kind of involved with stuff as well. And there's some really cool people playing. Lucy Blue's playing, Megan Lee, Katie Hurt, Gasoline and Matches, Gareth Nugent, Georgia Nevada. And on Friday, Alan Finlan will be performing live on stage, which I think is the headline set of the night, on his 30th birthday. So that's
asking for trouble.
that itself is a reason that if you have no plans next weekend and you're in the vicinity of the South Coast, you should go, because, you know, not going to lie, I'm pretty sure Alan's going to have quite a heavy night
Now, the
after.
main thing for Jamie, so the live music ends at 11:30 Friday night. There's a DJ going on till the early hours. Saturday morning, the first artist is on stage at 12:45. So the
Easy.
big question is, will Jamie A, make it for 12:45, and B, will he still be there at 11:30 when Saturday night live music ends?
Mate, Saturday's going to be wild. Like I say, it's like Sunday might be a different story, but say I survived C2C just about.
So Sunday's a bit not too bad. So Sunday first artist comes on at 12:30, and the live music finishes at 7:15. So you've got slightly less time to power through for Sunday.
Yeah, it's fine. It's no worries. Like I say, I did it for C2C, survived. It was like, you know, Bob's your uncle, funny's your aunt. You know, get through it. Jobs are good in all that. But yeah, so you know, it's just cool. Like, you know, C2C kind of, there was a whole sort of lull. Like, we've just chucked out all of our pieces. They've all sort of gone online and things. So it's like everyone's like, oh, what's next coming? And even when everyone's booking tickets for these tours, they're all in like September, October, November.
I think like this month for tours, there's literally the White Buffalo mid-month, and Keith Urban. Well, technically here he's down south. He's May, so there is next to nothing really this month.
Yeah, but no, it's nice. Like the idea of like, we'd sort of joked about like, we go to gigs in London, and it's like, you know, the idea of like, oh my god, like people will actually, these gigs don't just exist on a poster; they actually happen. So yeah, you know, I found out. I went down to Hassocks near Brighton last week, saw Sam Outlaw and Ruthie Collins, which will be coming to the site very soon, which was great fun. And yeah, so, you know, miss live music so much. There's not much happening in London, so, you know, venture out. You know, go and hang with the local people. That was, oh my, that was so, it felt so weird. Like down in Hassocks when I was down there, it felt like the whole League of Gentlemen thing. It's like, it was kind of this whole.
Were you one of the hoodies? Were you there in a hoodie?
No, it was like, I was thinking today, like the difference between today and like last Friday. Last Friday, I was sat on Brighton Beach in like jean shorts, like drinking like beer out of the koozie. And today I left the house with my big coat on and a hat, and I was like on like hot coffee, because it's like, we had like, I don't know what snow you had in Woking and stuff, but like, you know, it was settling.
Oh no, we had just random flurries for like 5 minutes, and that was it. About an hour apart as well. So it was literally Thursday, 3:15, end of school day. You're walking the kids out. Parents are there waiting to collect them. Carnage, snow, kids screaming, running around the place. It was like bedlam at its finest.
But it's fine. Like for you, it's nearly half term.
It is half term.
Easter.
I'm done. 2 weeks.
You're done. You're
Yeah.
done already. Oh, you cheeky little shit. That's kind of
I was
like,
done yesterday.
oh, that's not fair.
2 weeks relaxing now. 18 days, no work.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing, though. It's like all that, and it's like it's not as if we've got bucket loads to be putting out. We're just waiting for it to come through. We have got a lot of really exciting stuff on the way, like things kind of in the pipeline. We probably can't sort of talk about right now because they're not fully sort of confirmed, etc., etc., etc. But there will be a lot coming very, very soon, and genuinely there is a lot, because the pending things are into double digits. We just haven't got them locked in yet. But yeah, that's been this week. So, you know, hopefully, you know, like I say, November the 25th, you know, England will do what we need to do, and, you know, put our friends from across the pond in their place. And bizarrely, I could actually, and depending on how the NFL fixtures were, I could be over there for it. I could actually be in Nashville, depending when the Cowboys are playing the Titans, which is when I'm hoping to go over. So that would be a bit wild. being.
Let's just hope that people didn't turn off thinking we were a sports vlog and podcast and actually listen till the point we got to the music stuff as well.
We have talked, and we can end on that. I suppose kind of the last thing we haven't sort of done is we've talked about UK festivals and things. Millport's one of those coming up later this year, and someone appearing there is Alyssa Bonagura, who was at Buckle and Boots last year, and today is her birthday. So obviously, happy birthday to Alyssa, who's a really good friend of ours here that we kind of speak to a lot, and also happy birthday to Jennifer Wayne from Runaway June as well. So double April Fool's birthdays in the country music world.
Have you seen any good country music April Fools today?
I haven't seen any. Have you had any to share?
The only one I've seen was Brad Paisley's wife claimed she was putting out an album today. That's the only one. Other than that, and the problem with April Fools here is obviously it ends at 12, and you kind of you start to debate: do I believe this or not? Because you forget, you got time change. You've got to go to 7 o'clock before you can actually start to believe things, and then you got to start checking when things were posted online as to hold on, was this posted 2 hours ago? It's not fun.
But yeah, that's Darren Anderton, Steve Marley episode.
Steve Marley, 11.5 million, 2001.
There you go. We will be back next week with some tangent, tedious number 8s to share with you.
I have got one already, and you mentioned him earlier.
I was going to say
it'll be Jermaine Genius episode.
It could well be,
because he was number 8 for Spurs.
I'm sure that we can find more. I think it's one of those things like we were sort of saying. So we don't really want good people. We've sort of thought about it today, but we need to sort of think of who is the worst of that number or the most random. So obviously there'll come a point where you'll get to experience the Eric Jemba episode of blogging nonsense. But yeah, that's for the future. And like I say, we'll be back next week. We'll be talking about the new Caitlin Smith album that's kind of dropping on Friday next week. But for now, it's been fun. If you're heading down to country on the coast, come and say hey. It'll be great. And hopefully I'll be sober enough to remember talking to you there.
Thank you and good night.